Chattanooga, and I'm Smorgine 12 Chief Meteorologist Matt Core on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
Well, we know there's hope. There's real promise for all of us because on Saturday, the Powerball total will be at $1 billion. Right now, it's apparently at about 700 million, and people are feverishly buying tickets, hoping to find the right combination of two sets of numbers that will give them the option of drawing that down. Of course, millions to be subtracted from the hoard, from the cash, from the tax man. And there are people in 44 states, including Washington and Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, trying to buy their salvation, buying their economic security, with the odds of being something like 1 in 290 million. You have the odds of being struck by lightning, we are told in the press, of 1 in about 900,000. And yet this is much more against winning. The odds are much more against winning than virtually anything else. And yet people have a vain hope that they will succeed. And I think the phantasm that breathes and lives and pulses in the minds of many people waiting in those stop and shoot lines after they buy their gas. Other people are there not buying gas or crackers. They're buying they're buying their e-cig liquids and tickets for the Powerball in 44 states. There is this vain hope that I would like to suggest pervades the national economy. The same hope that the people who buy these tickets have in their minds is the same one. It's almost the same fabric, the same kind of material, is invested in national economy. The whole national money credit economy, that we think if we just believe in it, we will ride along with other people. We will ride along with the herd and maintain our livings at the very least, and maybe even make something of a gain. There's a wild hope when people buy these tickets of a rescue. If I just can win this ticket, or maybe any of the smaller prizes, then my security is sure, my prospects are bright. Finally, nothing else can help them. There is no hope for me, the drudge worker in an office, or the clerk in a store somewhere in a minimum wage job. There is no hope for me in national economy, but there is the lottery. And so I'm going to spend $25 or $30. I may go in with others in my employer's office in a pool, and we'll have a list. If we're smart, we'll have a list and keep track of who gets what and how the money's divided if we win with our choices. And there might be my gain, my rescue. The whole national economy, being based as it is on credit, is living that very fantasy. And I think we want to understand how, if what I'm suggesting is anywhere near true, or maybe just true in some respects, that it might be a clue as to what we should be doing here, what we should be, how we should be arranging our affairs and planning our lives here in Chattanooga and Hamilton County. Or if you are just passing through, you're the man in the truck, and you've been you're trying to keep awake, and you're flipping the radio station, and you find our station, Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. We do welcome you along in your place. What can you be doing in your home in Oregon? Or maybe it's in a suburb of Philadelphia, where your home is, where the here in your breast is and still lives, even though you go back there only on Friday and Saturday and Sunday. That's the only time you're home. But you bring that home, that place in that little suburb outside Philadelphia, you bring that with you. And it's always there. And you see your wife's face, and you hear things that she's saying to you, and you're remembering things about your children. and you're sort of dreaming of home and watching the traffic as you pass through Chattanooga. That's what you're doing. And here you are. We are very glad that you are taking part in our common man's analysis of the world at large. And what I suggest in the way of Noogacentrism really is not trademark, and you can apply it to your place, right? Nothing here is so geospecific, so connected with Chattanooga that it's useless once you leave Hamilton County, right? You can leave Hamilton County and take everything I suggest with you. And what I hope to do is to give you a much weaker hope than the Powerball gives to the people who are buying the tickets. A hope and a suggestion that maybe there is a way out. There is a solution to the crises that is building. There are, well, I could say the crises plural, CRISES. That's a plural noun. There are crises building, and some are spilling over a little bit. We've had the worst 4-day beginning of the year in the trading markets ever, and I don't know that means anything for now, but it could be. You know, if nothing else, it's a suggestion that there is peril in the national economy. There is peril in owning scraps of paper, either in stock certificates or the stock certificate not held in print but retained by ComputerShare, the trading middleman who has your asset there in some record, right? Some computer says you own 235 shares of ExxonMobil or Chevron or something like that. And we have confidence in those things, but maybe, just maybe, we should not. Maybe we should be a bit more skeptical of the promises of the great ones, our great leaders, the Jamie Dimons, their banks, those commentators, right, on television who are shouting at the Federal Reserve System to keep interest cheap, to help the economy recover, and so on. All the people who have a stake in the system as it is, including, you know, Forbes magazine, Money magazine, the Wall Street Journal, and many other outlets that are invested in the status quo. The status quo that is supported by the beams underneath the building, if you will, down in the ground, are the same beams that support the great hopes in 44 states, including Tennessee, for $1 billion payout of the Powerball. Rebecca Hargrove, the CEO and president of the Tennessee Lottery Corporation, wanting you to take advantage of her. Take advantage of her, she says. There's a story here from Kelly McCarthy at WRCB TV3. Players around the country have joined the excitement for a chance to win such an incredible prize. But remember, she hectors to play responsibly. It only takes one ticket to win. She goes right back into her pitch. Take advantage of me, Rebecca Hargrove says. She's the CEO of the Tennessee Lottery. And there are other prizes, right? You can win up to $4 to $2 million. Just play now, and there will be a blessing to you. Now, it is to play lottery, to play any game of chance is a stepping out of your humdrum routine into one that you hadn't expected. No, it's not chance and luck. It is into theology. When you gamble, you are stepping out of your humdrummery and into the world of theology. In this way, just let me suggest how it is, and how maybe the blessing that you get with that $2 million, right? That $2 million win. There is one, in fact, here in Chattanooga. The ticket sold at the Mapco Fast Food and Fuel on Cummings Highway. Someone won $1 million. Well, that is an act of providence. Okay, when you gamble, you are playing with an attribute of God. God protects his attributes. He protects jealously his name and all the things connected with his government in the third commandment, which says, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. So part of that commandment reaches over to his attributes. Because God's name is holy, you can't say damn you. Okay, you just can't say that. You can't say really even damn Yankees, which is something I've let myself say, and I think when I've done that, I've probably sinned against God, because I've claimed an attribute that he has, that he alone has the prerogative to exercise, and used it in a light and flimsy, flimsy pretext to make fun of Yankees, or to make, to impress my son or something like that. Those are the reasons I would say something like that, to show how bold I am, right? But what I've done is I have taken something from God. One of his characteristics, only God can damn people. No man can damn another person. Now, a man can kill another man. A man can torture another man to death. A man can rip another man's head off in utero. Okay, he can do that, as we do in our wondrous abortion clinics here in Tennessee. That can be done, but no man can damn another man. Now, what does that have to do with gambling? Well, in gambling, you're playing lightly with God's prerogative to ordain something, right? In old Israel, in the old Hebrew Republic, when the prophets and the king and the elders wanted to know what God's will, and they were baffled as to what God ordained in a particular case, they would use the Urim and the Thummim, which were indicators of God's will. And the scriptures also allow for the drawing of straws to determine who does something, or who wins, who can do a certain thing. And even lots were drawn for the disciple who replaced Judas the traitor, right, among the apostles. Which disciple would become the 12th apostle after Judas's betrayal? Well, that was done by Lot. The lot is God's will. So a man who wins the Powerball is winning the Powerball according to God's decree. Of course, it's going to be to his ruin. You know that. Everyone who wins these lotteries is ruined by it, because God intends to ruin them with the wealth. It's almost invariable. There are very few exceptions to this rule, and the greater the reward, the greater the ruination that comes upon the fool who ventured into God's territory, who ventured from the Mapco shopping center and his fuel pumps with its rows of candies and e-cig liquids and Cokes and things like that. You step from that past the fuel pumps and out into theology. And that's what happens when people gamble. They step out from the gas station into God's realm, and they don't really know what they're doing. Of course, many Christians take part in that too, thinking fecklessly that it matters not. But I would like to suggest that it does. But anyone who's playing these games is counting on national economy salvation. They're counting on a rescue, a magnanimous gesture from fate to them. Work? No. Investment? No, don't need that. Patience and capital and personal relations that build a business? No, don't need that either. You just wait for the hand of God. Of course, you're viewing the hand of God. If you're not a member of the church, you probably would view simply that it's an operation of fate or chance, right? There is, but as we pointed out today at Panera Posse, there is no such thing as chance. There is no such thing as contingency in theology. In the way, if you understand the sovereignty of God, which Christians mostly do, I think most Christians have some conception of that. If there is a sovereign God, then there's not any one thing that's outside of his government. There's nothing that he doesn't control. So whether you win $1, $4 in a lottery, or $1 million or $1 billion, that is by God's decree. You win it because he ordains you to win it. Okay, there's no such thing as contingency. It's all by God's providential decree. If that's true, then then there's not a single atom that can do what it wants, right? If there's a turn it around for a second. If there is a single atom anywhere that can do what it wants, a single atom, then God is not sovereign. God is not on his throne. And really what happens now is men in their best form, which is the state in our day, men in their best form dictate what happens, and God is constantly having to react. And that, of course, is when God is not on his throne, as in many parts of Christian theology. God is not sovereign. God reacts to things. God is so impotent that he cannot even declare who his people are. He doesn't even know whom his children are. They, in fact, choose him. He doesn't choose them. They choose him by free will. And so God is constantly having to account for other people's actions. God is not sovereign. Now, I would beg to differ with my Christian friends, right? Who have this lower view of the deity as described in the Christian Bible, right? The library called the Holy Scriptures, the 66 books, a vast trove, if there ever was one, greater than all the libraries of the late former library in Alexandria that got burned, or any of those great libraries burned by the German National Socialists or others, right? Those are all gone up in flames, but they contain less wisdom and insight than the 66 books of the library that most people, oddly enough, have in their own houses, sometimes actually opened, sometimes actually read. This is David Tulis. We're here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. I do thank you for giving me just a couple minutes of your time, just 2 minutes. That's all I would like to ask of you, and hope you'll maybe stay into a third minute if you've got the means and occasion to do so. We argue that you should love your neighbor and buy local, and not live according to fantasy, but according to real things, according to divine revelation, if God gives you grace to do that. But if not, then simply suspicion of men. I think if we have, apart from the gospel promises, but if we simply are suspicious of men, unwilling to believe them, especially the great ones with their fabulous promises, we will be much more prudent, and we will not be wrecked so badly in the coming economic crises, which are inevitable and inescapable, given the way the world works and given the way humankind is made to work, and humankind in their aggregates, right, in their societies and their countries, how they invariably go down into a spiral that is replicated throughout history. We are brought to you by Wimpy's, the restaurant just opposite City Hall in Saudi Daisy, where David and that family there and the whole crew bring you just the best food and conversation at the great table there at Wimpy's, where you can go in and sit and meet other people. You meet total strangers at Wimpy's, country people who might be a little bit suspicious of you, the high-end listener that we have here on our station. They might be a little suspicious of you, but they will welcome you, and they will gladly talk with you about their affairs and the affairs of town. That is at Wimpy's. Well worth the ride to Saudi Daisy. Meat and eggs at dawn, or omelets, and at noon, sandwiches or soup and salad. And there's a great daily menu. There's a backlot broiler, often puffing away with tremendous barbecue. Make sure you get your Tennessee handgun permit class from Carter Shooting Supply and Range. That's a great option. And have a subscription to join the range and use the range anytime at Carter Shooting Supply and Range on Highway 58. Tennessee handgun permit class is for you. You need to take that class and take on, if you understand this correctly, take on the privilege of carrying a weapon. That is something the Tennessee legislature is allowed to do, is regulate the wearing of arms. The wearing of arms, of course, is carrying it concealed as part of wearing it, and the legislature does have the authority to do that. So you can obtain that regulated privilege of wearing, but take that Tennessee handgun permit class at Carter Shooting Supply. Carter. My name is David Tulis, and make sure that if you have any needs in the way of heating, cooling, air systems, that you go to Superior Air Systems. Superior Air in the big orange vans, rolling about Hamilton County and places beyond, points beyond. Superior Air Systems, taking care of your cooling and heating needs. I am David Tulis, and we are here making the case that near is better than far, and that small is better than big, and simple is better, generally speaking, right, than complex. And our critics, our rivals, if we have any, I'm not sure we do, but if we have any critics or rivals, they would say the opposite. Even in the footnotes, they quarrel with you, my listener. They quarrel, they squabble, they fight, and they're saying that corporate is better than personal. They're saying that abstract is better than physical. How can that possibly be? You know differently, and I'm glad you're here to help remind ourselves about that. There's a lot to get to, and I want to keep you in mind of this question about the sovereignty of God, and the question that people such as John Weaver ask from Freedom Ministries in Fitzgerald, Georgia. The question they ask is a question not just suitable for Christian people, right, but really for everyone, and that is, does Romans 13 teach abject submission to all authority under any exercise thereof? And you probably know my answer to that question. My answer to that question is no. It is not. And yet there are many people, including people who believe in a sovereign God, who hold a position that there is warrant in the Christian scriptures for abject submission. And what, in effect, is a life of fear. A life of fear, and fear pervades the American heartland. It pervades it. And the Bundys suggest that they're not fearful, but they perhaps are an exception. They are Mormons. They're not Christian people, but they are Mormons. They profess an alternative view of the world and of God. But fear pervades the American heartland. It pervades even Chattanooga and Hamilton County. There is not much resistance to tyranny, and yet I think there's great means for that resistance. There's great heartfelt ways that people can say, God is sovereign, and because I have confidence in God's mercies, I will stand not necessarily on a point of Scripture, but I'll stand on a point of a human law, and that human law in our case would be the Constitution. Or many times that human law is the statute. Statutes are abused very often by officials who do so with impunity until what? Until they're told no. Show me your authority. Prove to me that you have the power to say something to me, or to speak to me, or to demand something of me. That's a hard position to take, but there are means with which to take it. This is David Tulis.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect lots of clouds for your Friday. After a spotty early shower, mainly dry through the day. High temperatures mild or into the mid-50s. Tonight,